Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, fueling philanthropic programs and dedicated to creating educational and professional opportunities for Alaska Native people.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather on the first day of April 2017. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting this evening's broadcast. On the satellite, low pressure right there just east of Kodiak Island, kind of sliding up to the northeast there. Weakening front coming onshore to the North Gulf Coast and moving across the Panhandle throughout the day for rain, changing over to showers here down to the south and over to Yakutat there as the main front lifts north and another trough almost catching up to the front there, keeping it cloudy, occasionally wet for the Kenai Peninsula. Westward here to Kodiak, but farther to the west, the cold air coming back and around, actually coming around southern Kodiak Island, all the way eastward there, the leading edge of that along that trough axis I mentioned. And the winds stay a lot lighter around the Pribilofs. You see some clearing there as well. Still some snow showers going on, but a lot less wind over the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula than there was yesterday at this time. And just a lot of clouds out over the Bering Sea here in the cold air. Weak high pressure out there developing, and really no storminess, so no big winds, and not a lot of change going on out there. A lot of breaks up here north of the Alaska Range through the Tanana Valley, allowing temperatures to rise into the lower 50s around Fairbanks this afternoon, and mild conditions right there into the Yukon. More clouds, but still pretty mild temperatures, getting well above freezing, and even in some cases not even dropping below freezing overnight here across south central Alaska in some locations. And then back out to the west again, you can see something of high pressure here with northwest flow, and then back around to the east and then south there toward the Kamchatka Peninsula. So that's indicating high pressure out over the western Bering Sea. And the wind's not all that strong now. You can still see south or north to south flow here, but really lightening up now. Ice edge down to St. Paul, 4 to 7/10 ice around St. Paul Island this afternoon on today's analysis. And some of that could get down to St. George, possibly. Otherwise, not a lot of change going on out there. Looks like a couple of light wind days coming up, both Sunday and Monday over the Bering Sea. Eastern Bering Sea all the way back out to the west there. No big storms. We'll be watching one coming up from the south here for tomorrow night into Monday. That'll bring a big change, big increase in the winds, gales coming all along the coast with increasing rain as well late in the day right along the coastal areas, which will start sooner for Kodiak Island. But for today, we have this low lifting up over the Barren Islands in toward southern Cook Inlet, about 992 millibars, and the front extending out from that, it's coming inland, weakening, most of the precipitation confined to the coastal range southward. And again, rain changing to showers over the Panhandle today, and the low keeping it pretty cloudy, occasionally wet here over the Kenai Peninsula areas, and back to the west into the colder air, areas of snow here, Bristol Bay, back up along the coastline. Narrow band of light snow up to the northeast there along that trough axis up across Koyukuk Valley over to the eastern Brooks Range area, but very light snow associated with that. Colder air to the north there over the north slope with the Arctic high. Not all that strong, just 1,013 millibars, so not a lot of winds associated with that. And not much gradient here along the coast either. Still north winds, a little gusty here. Nunivak Island, maybe to Cape Newenham in the Aleutian Range, but nothing all that strong. And some breezy westerlies cutting across Kodiak Island. The strongest winds down to the south there as that cold air streams eastward. Otherwise improving back to the west, just clouds. And there's that weak area high pressure developing near the Komodorsky Islands. And that's just left some a lot of clouds, isolated snow showers, rain or snow there for the Aleutians. And that front farther to the south, not very strong. and is really going to stay down that area there and actually slide off to the east here. So that just leaves high pressure in over the Aleutians there, but not really strong enough to shut all the shower conditions off. Still a lot of cold air left over, and that'll keep a few snow showers away from the Pribilofs, though. Could see some clearing tonight that you saw today into tonight and possibly even tomorrow morning. Fair conditions, Alaska Peninsula, very light winds now. No gradient at all here, all the way out to the Komodorskis, northward there, not even small craft advisories out. Still could maybe see 20 knots here, possibly 25 right along the coastline, the windier areas, and that's about it. Otherwise, looking at snow across northern Bristol Bay, Togiak, Dillingham, on into King Salmon, up across Iliamna as some of that cold air comes up from the southwest. Snow showers coming into Cook Inlet. Still a mixed type thing going on over the southern Kenai Peninsula, up to the North Gulf Coast, and of course any elevation at all and you'll be into the snow. And another trough keeps showers and rain or snow in the north, will be of rain to the southern areas, and then some snow showers here. That's right along the Alaska Range. It stays dry and mostly cloudy for the Tanana Valley and mild as well. And then here along the boundary right through here with the colder air back to the north and west and the milder air to the east. Area of snow, again from the eastern Brooks Range, Arctic Village area, maybe to Anatuvik and Adigan down in across the northern Koyukuk Valley, back into the southwest interior, but improving along the coast, snow ending, and winds pretty light there, still out of the north, but quite light now. And that same pattern here for the Bering Sea, which will hold through tomorrow as well. Same thing here, IFR with snow into Bristol Bay, the Aleutian Range, and some of that IFR will also extend up from the Kuskokwim Bay area, up along that trough in the southwest interior in this snowy area, which extends all the way up to the eastern Arctic coast. Just areas of light snow through this zone. To the east and south, mild again, probably back up temperatures possibly as high as they were this afternoon through the Tanana Valley. Southward, another trough, not all that strong, but it'll keep some snow showers. That south to north flow we've got going on with higher pressure here back over the southern panhandle, and that'll keep surges of moisture coming onshore for the North Gulf Coast. Rain or snow, probably definitely rain midday into the evening there, but nothing really heavy at all. Just a chance of showers now for Kodiak Island, as well as a panhandle, scattered showers down to the south, with maybe some partial clearing tomorrow afternoon, and a little more possible widespread shower activity up to the north. Areas of snow, flurries for the eastern Arctic coast, cutting off back to the central coast there. Light winds turning kind of easterly here on the east side, but maybe up to 15-20 knots, but lighter down into the Chukchi Sea area, down to the Bering Strait. Could see a partly sunny day there for the Seward Peninsula with all the snowy conditions over toward the Nulato Hills area. And then Kuskokwim Bay still looking kind of snowy as well. And the Aleutians, Bering Sea, no change from today to tonight to tomorrow. Light wind conditions, scattered snow showers around the area there, but also some sunshine as well. And then this storm will be moving northward, excuse me, tomorrow night. And by Monday afternoon, they'll push quite a front with a tight gradient, 45-knot winds coming into Kodiak Island, good gales into Shelikof Strait as well. Increasing gale force winds moving northward throughout the day and into the afternoon here, with along with rain spreading northward. Quite a precipitation shield associated with that. And then also gradually look for gale force winds to increase along the coast, definitely by the afternoon for the coastal areas here. Lighter though, staying 15 knots on the inside waters. So Monday, pretty much escaping this system during the day Monday for the inside waters, but that'll be deteriorating during the evening hours on Monday. So ahead of that system, a lot of sunshine in store for the central and southern interior. Starting out pretty good here, southern Alaska, but look for the clouds to increase rapidly by the afternoon as the winds come up and the precipitation moves northward. And actually right through here, that could be a mixed precipitation pattern, even starting out as snow, especially for the Aleutian Range on back down toward the Alaska Peninsula though. So the rain snow line somewhere in here, and this will probably be snow on the outer edge there to the northeast. But a very nice day coming up for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta up to McGrath, Nikolai. And then this trough here, just some areas of light snow, and that's about it there from maybe Nome over toward White Mountain, northeast across, again, the northern Koyukuk Valley, right along the Brooks Range. Arctic coast, so kind of an offshore flow going on, so could see some clearing here over the central north slope out to the coastline. And the Bering Sea, really not a lot of change. These showers not looking as formidable as what I've got drawn there. Just probably this increasing north wind now with this low coming up may enhance the snow showers along the upslope areas of the Alaska Range and the Fox Islands there. And the chances snow showers for Adak and Atka, nothing heavy at all. No precipitation in the forecast for the Pribilofs. And a couple of weak troughs might make the snow showers a little more widespread out over the far western Aleutians and way out over the far western Bering Sea. And that's about all that's going on out in that area. For the temperatures this afternoon, Arctic coast below zero, -11 at 4 p.m. over, let's see, that's at Dead Horse, and -1 at Kaktovik. Otherwise 7 below at Wainwright, and rising above zero down toward Cape Lisburne, and single numbers in teens, with Kivalina at 12, one of the warmer locations here in the northwest. Otherwise Seward Peninsula, Shishmaref at 7 above, but up to 24 at Nome. And the interior starting out in the lower 30s here in the west, but rising into the lower 50s through the central Tanana Valley on over to Eagle. I believe Fairbanks was up to 52 today, and then back down into the mid-40s, Tanana and those areas. Lower 40s, pretty nice there at Talkeetna. Same thing, Palmer, Anchorage, Kenai up to 45 degrees. Homer at 44, as well as Gulkana. And for the southeast coast, there's a 39 reading at AKwx, while Sitka had 44 degrees, and Skagway 46. Yakutat, though, just 38, 41 at Cordova. Mostly in the lower 40s here across southern Alaska. Mid-30s there, that colder air coming in just as south of Kodiak Island. So Akiak at 30 degrees, Kodiak State Airport 34. And then the colder air here right near or just below freezing over to Iliamna, on down into the upper 20s across Bristol Bay. And then northward here, the Kuskokwim Valley, McGrath 45 degrees today, but just 31 at Bethel. 10 degrees colder than that out toward Tuksuk Bay. And then Savunga at 23. Freezing both at St. Paul and St. George. And out to the west there, 35 at Unalaska, upper 30s all the way out to the Komodorsky Islands or Shimei and Attu area. Not quite to the Komodorskis, they're probably a little colder. And looking at the overnight lows for tonight, quite a contrast here from north and west to south-southeast. Above freezing, upper 30s along the North Gulf Coast, lower to mid 30s south central Alaska. Some areas dropping a shade below freezing, other areas staying above. Copper River Basin, though, mid-20s. Right around 20 here for the central Tanana Valley, milder to the east, and then dropping back down toward 20. Colder to the north. It looks like the sub-zero range here will be north of the Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast, 10 to 15 below on the east side. Right around 40 here, give or take, for the Panhandle, and upper 20s, lower 30s for the Aleutians. And clear skies, light winds, temperature could easily fall to 15 degrees or to 18 degrees there at St. Paul. Really depends on the cloudiness there and how much the wind drops off. Otherwise for tomorrow, coming back, rebounding up to 28 for the Pribilofs there at St. Paul particularly. Lower to mid 30s for the Alaska Peninsula. Mid to maybe upper 30s out to the west. And the interior again looking pretty good. Well into the 40s, at least mid 40s for the Tanana Valley. Again, some locations might push 50 degrees once again, as well as the Copper River Basin, and 40s to mid 50s, or mid 40s I'll call it, for the Susitna Valley down into the Kenai Peninsula, driving back to 40 around Kodiak, and then mid 40s for the Panhandle. Flying weather tomorrow, IFR, southeast coast there, right along the North Gulf Coast, continued southerly flow. Upslope areas of the Alaska Range. Same thing on the Brooks Range, that boundary right through here, keeping lower flying conditions, which improve to the west. And for tomorrow afternoon, that same boundary here kind of enhances IFR, Bristol Bay up to the northeast there, and along and south of the Brooks Range. Mostly VFR here through the eastern interior till you get to the North Gulf Coast. Marshall VFR out to the west. Anatuvik IFR, southern approach especially, same forecast for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR becoming marginal, rainy, kind of bouncing back and forth between IFR and marginal VFR, possibly better. Same forecast for windy. Isabel, IFR, gradually improving to marginal. And Mentasta will become VFR in the afternoon, if not earlier. Tenedo, call it marginal VFR at times, VFR otherwise. And for Portage, look for gradual improvement as well, IFR becoming marginal. Chilcoot and White, IFR. Freezing levels right around 2,000 feet here, southern Alaska, again back down across the southeast coast with at the surface, this for late tonight, early tomorrow morning, coming right along the coastline, some cases farther to the north, you can see here once again like this morning, but south of the Aleutians out to the west. And icing above about 6,000 feet, areas of mixed icing there for the Panhandle. Up along the North Gulf Coast, again, southerly flow keeping those surges of showers coming up right up to the coastline, interacting with the terrain, so it kind of squeezes the moisture out right in this area. And then the other boundary up here, maybe areas of rime icing above about 4,000 feet from northeast to southwest. Actually, this could be probably extended in a little farther to the east there along Bristol Bay. Upper level wind flow chart, main Pacific jet well to the south, just cold trough here over the Bering Sea, covering much of the Alaska. Really light wind flow. The jet a lot farther to the south, so jump to 9,000 feet. And all you can see the next storm coming up from the south. That will be coming up tomorrow night, and then again on Monday, really increasing the winds here for the Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast, Kodiak to the Panhandle. But tomorrow, not too bad. Big area high pressure over the Bering Sea, northeasterlies at about 20. And that's it. Light winds here, maybe south-southwest coming over the top of that ridge, 20 to 25. About the same pattern at 3,000 feet here. Big storm coming onto the scene down to the south, but light winds, Gulf of Alaska, high pressure, the southeast coast, all the way into the interior, possibly northeast 20 on the western Arctic coast. Light winds out to the west. Turbulence-wise, not a lot to talk about. Maybe some isolated moderate chop here from the Wrangell Mountains across the northern Panhandle, also the western Arctic coast, and possibly the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We really appreciate it, as always.
Happy to be here, Dave.
Thanks. And, you know, we're going to ask you some more satellite questions here, but, you know,
Okay.
Since you're a regular guest, we're going to give you a riddle this time, kind of a trick start to the show.
Okay.
How do you see a polar bear in a snowstorm?
Sounds like a challenging question because
Okay.
the polar bear is white and the snowstorm is white.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in the world of satellite meteorology, you couldn't, because the spatial resolution of this instrument that we're going to talk about today has 375 meters resolution, and even the most well-fed polar bear will not be 375 meters across.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to run into such a
No, it'd be a
creature,
bad day.
would you? In the satellite meteorology world, the equivalent would be, how do you tell the difference between clouds and then an area that has no clouds but's covered by snow,
Right.
a piece of ocean that has no clouds but has sea ice?
Ah.
All three of these are white.
Right.
The snow, the clouds, the sea ice, it's all white. So how, using satellite data, can you tell someone where the clouds are and where the clear areas are? This is important for aviators. Mariners want to know, in the ocean there, this white stuff, is that sea ice or is that just a cloud?
Right.
How do we tell the difference? And it turns out, if you look, say, at a picture of Alaska from the springtime, March or April, and it's high noon, so we're getting a lot of sunshine. If you were riding on a satellite with your human eye, look down, everything's white.
Right.
And we've got a picture of Alaska from early April, and we're seeing some of the lower elevations in south central Alaska are melting out, getting some brown ground there, but otherwise there's a whole lot of white on the image. What areas are cloudy, but what areas are clear and covered by snow or ice? Okay. It turns out that if we leave the visible spectrum behind a little bit, see, a satellite has multiple channels in the electromagnetic spectrum that it can look at. Part of that's visible light, what we see as humans, but there's a lot going on at other wavelengths. If we add in something that's called near infrared, what we couldn't quite see, but we're getting into that infrared territory, there's a magical property that we can exploit.
Secrets to find.
Oh yeah. This is actually powerful and almost magical, that at a slightly longer wavelength, when the sun shines down on Alaska and then it bounces off back to the satellite, at that near infrared wavelength, it turns out that snow and ice will absorb that wavelength, but liquid water, like liquid droplets in a cloud, will reflect it back.
Okay.
And that's not the way it works in visible. You know, visible, it just bounces off of all those targets the same. But at near infrared, snow and ice absorbs it, and the liquid will reflect it back. Liquid cloud droplets will do that.
Okay.
And so an image where everything looks white suddenly becomes colorful. And the way this recipe works is that the clouds look pink and the snow-covered ground and the ice-covered ocean look blue. Suddenly now, we're able to see the polar bear in the snowstorm. We're able to see where the clouds are and where the snow is and where the ice is. This is a powerful advantage. Consider the case zooming into the Bering Strait area. What if you were asked to brief a pilot who wanted to fly, say, from Kotzebue down to Savunga or Gamble and had to fly VFR, visual flight rules, so they had to stay out of the clouds? Could you use a satellite image where everything is white to provide that pilot any guidance?
It'd be pretty tricky.
Very tricky. And that's why we have to go to this other recipe where the all-white polar bear in the snowstorm becomes more colorful. And now we can tell the pilot, aha, this is a cloud you want to stay out of, but over here, sure, it looks white in the visible spectrum, but what we're doing, we'll show you, oh, this is just snow-covered ground, but it's clear, so you can fly right through there, visual flight rules. Same thing for a mariner who might want to get down to St. Lawrence Island, say, but it has to avoid the sea ice. This product has applicability there as well.
Wonderful.
It's an amazing new technology, so many new channels. The satellite that makes this imagery actually has 22 different channels that it looks at.
22 secret decoder rings.
22 secret decoder rings.
Okay. You know, I liken this to an activity I had in the car when I was growing up. We go on long car rides, and we do all the work in these activity books to, you know, stay calm, cool, and collected for our parents who were trying to get us across the state. But to get the answer, the real answer, you had to apply that red sheet to see the answer or the secret path or whatever the message was in that activity book to get you onto the next page. And it's also like a photography filter, right? If you're taking a lot of pictures, you can apply different colors to see different parts of that image. I mean, that sounds a lot like what you're talking about.
Oh, you know it. The information is in there all along. We just have to combine the channels in a way to reveal what's in there. And by the way, you're dating yourself. So you didn't have an iPad in the back of the car?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, we have, lastly, for dessert, there's a great image of this same kind of recipe. We're looking at South Central Alaska the first week of January. In first week of January, the sun, even at noon, is really low on the horizon, barely up. And in this image, the fun thing is the shadow of Denali. We can see the shadow of Denali over a lower pink cloud deck.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And Denali at 20,000 feet casts a big shadow. So this is another, just for fun, kind of application here. This is called multispectral satellite imagery, and it's the future. And happily, the future is now.
Oh, that is fascinating. And 22 different secrets that can be revealed from just one satellite tool that's floating overhead. Eric, thanks so much for joining us again. We can't wait to have you back and telling us more secrets of satellite technology that are passing over us every single day and many times a day over Alaska and helping us all the way in many different parts of our lives. So thanks so much for joining us again.
Well, happy to be here.
All right. And thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with a little more weather here in just a few minutes. And of course, we'll have more Alaska weather facts anytime online.
Light winds in the south, and then 30 knots up here in the north, especially in the morning, with a little more gradient there. And then otherwise west to south here along the coast at about 20, with seas holding at about 16 feet. And then on Monday in the afternoon, winds coming up, full gales here on the south coast, gradually increasing to the north, 30 knots in the afternoon, 15-foot seas. Southeasterlies at 15, central and northern southeast coast, but Clarence Strait coming up to 25 knots with higher gusts by late afternoon. And for Prince William Sound, east 15 tomorrow, north to northeast 10 to 20 Cook Inlet or less, all the way down to Shelikof Strait, turning westerly at 15, southwest 20 here, Kodiak and the coast. Southerlies at about 20 along the North Gulf Coast. And then those turn easterly and come up. Full gales in the afternoon or throughout the day. So minimum gales coming maybe in the morning hours here, up to 45 knots, 40 knots Kodiak, northeast 40 knots for Shelikof Strait, small craft advisories and brisk wind advisories for Cook Inlet. For Bristol Bay, southwest 20, turning westerly there as you head on down the coastline, northwest on the Bering Sea side, Castle Cape to Sitkinak, southwest 20. Forecast for Monday, looking at freezing spray continuing out here to the west, but winds coming up to 30 knots, Bristol Bay, gale force winds, Sitkinak, all the way over to Cape Sarachev. in the forecast there on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula. Out west of the Aleutians, light northerlies here for the Fox Islands, just 15 knots, and even lighter out to the west, turning more east at 10. And that'll last, or actually that'll swing around to the southwest at 15 on Monday as the trough approaches right around Shimia. Lighter winds, northwest 20 to 25, and then 25 to 30 knots as those increase in the afternoon due to that storm coming up for the Fox Islands. And for the southwest coast, northwest 20 to 25 here, north 20, St. Lawrence Island, 15-knot winds for the Pribilofs all the way up to St. Matthew Island. Probably could lose both of these freezing sprays now. I think the winds will be light enough. I think they are right now for any of that. So moving on to Monday, definitely light winds, no freezing spray with these light wind conditions. North maybe 10 knots all the way up to St. Lawrence Island. Might be probably 15, possibly gusts of 20 there south of Nunivak Island. And for the Arctic coast, north winds at 10 on the east side, turning east at 15 up to 20 knots down toward Cape Thompson to Wales, north at 20. And then the next day, those drop back to 10 knots, 15 knots here from Cape Thompson, turning easterly at 20 for the west side, and then 15, mostly 20-knot winds along the eastern Beaufort Sea. And then for tonight, this area of snow south of the coastline, pretty good dry conditions there, colder to the west. Areas of light snow extending all the way down to Kuskokwim Bay, then eastward into Bristol Bay. Some of that slipping into southern Cook Inlet, maybe northward there along the east side of the western Alaska Range. Otherwise, rain and snow showers southeast coast and north Gulf Coast. Nothing going on out in the Bering Sea but high pressure both for tonight and tomorrow. And this pattern holding and persisting through this area, the lowest flying conditions. Scattered rain and snow showers and surges still coming northward there on those 20-knot winds out of the south, and scattered showers over the panhandle. Again, this system here coming northward will increase the winds late tomorrow night, of course, from north to south. Kodiak Island in the afternoon, right in 40 to 45 knot easterlies there as that front comes close to the east side of the island. Gales spreading northward along with the rain eastward in toward the panhandle late in the day. And that's a look at the weather, and thanks so much for joining us. See you again.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.